Hey, my name is Margaret Wong, and I invited two of my good friends from Legal Aid in Cleveland to come join us in this conversation. And do you mind introducing yourself so our audience get to know you, your job title, and what's your roles in the organization?
Oh, thank you for having us today. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Maria Smith. I'm a supervising attorney at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland with the Housing Group.
And I'm Melanie Shakarian. I'm an attorney by training, but I am the Director of Development and Communications at Legal Aid.
Awesome. And I've known especially my friends for so long. When I was a young lawyer and about 40, 50 years ago, Legal Aid has always been our mentors because they mentor a lot of young lawyers. They also give us a lot of work. Anytime, they always have these overflows, and young lawyers, we would take over their cases, go in and help them. So through the years, we have developed. In those cases, there's no development, there's not enough money for anything. So they're always calling us lawyers, oh, we need help here, we need help there in the housing. But Legal Aid in Cleveland is always known to have the best of the best of the best lawyers. And tell me, how do you afford, because I know you don't have that much of a budget because your budgeting comes from the federal government or, fundraising.
Mhm.
So how do you keep good lawyers, good paralegals, and really maintain such a great reputation?
Well, first of all, it's truly a vocation. I've been there 21 years. Maria's been there just a little longer than me. But, we work really hard and have great community support from folks like you, Margaret. We have a $20 million budget, which helps us pay our staff. Some of it comes from these government grants, but actually most of it is from philanthropy. So people who are generous like you in the community donate to us. And now we have 150 staff. We have 85 full-time attorneys. So we're one of the largest law firms in Cleveland, but we've grown a lot in recent years because of philanthropy of people like you.
Yes, and thank you. Years and years ago, I remember because none of us have money, so we would have brown bag dinners, we'd talk about our cases, and invariably, we always learn about how to practice domestic violence, divorce cases, housing cases from lawyers like them. And always, I don't know, remember Susan, we had a big
Yeah.
party so I would call her and say, what do I do in this case? And she's like, that's because you're for profit. You guys make so much more money than I do. I would go in there and yell at the judge. I'm like, whoa, so you guys are fearless and awesome. I mean, they have power in those courtrooms because they know they're not doing it to make the money. It's not like us. We are for profit. So, but through the years, legal aid also changed. Because in those days, we don't know how to fundraise until, now we are learning and we are asking for more grants and stuff like that.
I do want to toot this one's horn because she's not going to, but she has grown the budget of the Legal Aid Society so much, and she's made so many connections with people that have resources and they want to invest them in the community. They want to invest it into justice and access to justice. And
Yes,
she's made a lot of those connections. So she's really, really grown the Legal
that's
Aid
awesome.
Society.
And for those of you who don't know what the term, because I know a lot of foreign people follow this web, our Facebook. For those of you who don't know what access to justice is, can you explain to us what's access?
Definitely. So access to justice means I have a legal problem. I know that I need to get to a court to help resolve it in a fair and just way. And how do I do that? What's the connection between me having a legal problem and me getting to a judge to make a decision? Well, many times people really can't do that themselves. They can't show up at a clerk of court, write out their complaint, and file it. So they need a lawyer in between to tell them, well, this is how you say this, and this is what you need to say. So that's the access to justice that we're talking about. How do people get from their legal situation to a just outcome that's determined by a court?
And a lot of people watch those TV crime shows, even in other countries. And people know you have the right to an attorney if you can't afford one. And they watch Law and Order and they arrest the perpetrator and they read him his rights. And it's true. In the United States, we have a judicial branch of our government. And on the criminal side of that judicial branch, it's true you have the right to an attorney. But on the civil side and civil issues that deal with immigration or maybe your home is being foreclosed or you're being evicted, there's no comparable right to an attorney. in the civil context. So that's where legal aid comes in, because we're a private nonprofit trying to help as many people as we can on the civil side of our justice system. The government, the public defender's office, the prosecutor's office helps ensure there's a right to an attorney in criminal cases, but we're that answer on the civil side of our justice system.
Yes, and one thing that always perplexes me, because also I'm a Catholic and we are all sort of trying to help, trying to be of service, especially as we age. So how do you decline like to help someone, because none of us could help the whole world. And I believe as a good lawyer, which all three of us are, you can only help the one case in front of you. But especially for legal aid, I notice, how do you, because you really have no income, it's not like I can always go to high fee, they couldn't afford my fee, I can say, okay, I couldn't help you, right? And I know I sound stupid, but how do you do that? I see the people waiting by your door, I see the people crying, and people have like 3 babies and no childcare. So how do you not get burned out?
It's tough. It's tough. But we're also really, really thoughtful. So we have a strategic plan that our board of directors and our staff work on together. And then from that strategic plan, we create annually priorities for our cases. And from those priorities, we create case acceptance guidelines. So, we have to make tough choices every day, but we're also very consistent and ethical and just in how we make those choices, because it's true, there's a significant justice gap in the United States. And for every 2 people who come to legal aid, we are going to have to turn one of those 2 away and help the other one. But we try to do that in a way that also provides people with some legal information. If they can do it pro se, help themselves, send them to a colleague at the Bar Association to get that help. But we're very thoughtful in the processes that we have to make sure we're ethical and just along the way. So.
And part of that thoughtful process is that we try to stay connected to the communities that are most in need, and to understand the framework of the systemic problems of how this legal problem that one individual or 2 individuals or 200 individuals are encountering, how that connects. What is the systemic change that we can do? So we try to be strategic. We also try to listen closely to what the community is experiencing and say, where can we put resources? How can we respond? We do issue advocacy, trying to resolve problems before they start. We're active in committees and neighborhood groups, all those things. We do know your rights programs so that people can kind of get ahead of a problem before it actually happens to them.
Right. The 2 issues that I always meant to ask you, but I just never have a chance. So since we're here, I might as well ask. The first issue is, how do you work with mental health, both on the staff and on your clients? Because I noticed, especially after COVID, a lot of our staff members, our lawyers, our paralegals, our front desk clerks, our data team, our researchers, invariably the mother is dying, the father is dying, they get pregnant. And I'm like, what is an 18-year-old girl, getting pregnant, so number one, how do you, what's your thinking? Because I'm really trying to help some of our people do that. The second thing is, because of the lack of childcare, and in our law firm, we have a lot of women. I shouldn't say a lot, but most of our, maybe they're more passionate. Maybe I'm a woman. I always like to give more opportunities to women. And it doesn't seem fair. It's always like, oh, the daycare is closed. Oh, the school is closed. I'm stuck at home because I couldn't go to work. But the husbands always go to work. So I'm like, well, that's not fair. The men in this office, they are always here, the women. So I'm also I'm grappling with like helping them pay for their child care and helping them with mental health. But what's your take on this, also on your clientele base? I think there's a lot of mental health issues now.
I would like to address the client part. So we receive training in what's called trauma-informed care. And so we try to understand that most people that come to us have experienced some form of severe trauma, because our clients are impoverished, and being impoverished is a violence in and of itself. But being a person that's impoverished means that you've experienced a lot of other kinds of violences in your life. It can be domestic violence, like you mentioned. It could be other kinds of violences that you're working and you're not being paid a just wage, so it creates this
If you don't
cycle.
mind, can you explain impoverished? Because our clients are not that sophisticated
Right,
in
so-
English. I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry.
our-
I don't mean to interrupt.
the Legal Aid Society is geared to help people that are at 180% or below the poverty line. So if you have a household of, say you have a household of 5 people, there's a chart that the federal government issues that says when people are considered poor. And obviously that chart is very conservative because it's very hard for people that are making more than $30,000 a year but are making less than $80,000 a year, and they have a whole household. That's hard for people to survive within that margin. Most of our clients are making significantly less than that, and so they're paying more than 30% of their household income for rent. So that already means that they're not going to be able to make their monthly bills. So that's what impoverished means: is you don't have enough to survive and thrive materially, right? And so recognizing that in itself is a violence, because everyone should have the right to housing, the right to food, the right to education, all the things you need, healthcare. You should have enough of your financial resources to get those needs met. But we're dealing with people that have, maybe for generations, because of racism and other classism in our society, have never had all of those needs met. And so that creates trauma, generational trauma. And so we've been trained to recognize that people's legal problems, at the bottom of it, is a lot of trauma, and to have a lot of compassion and to listen deeply to what people are experiencing. Because when you listen deeply to what people are experiencing, you can identify legal handles that may help pull them out of that situation and help the next person that comes behind them.
And for our staff, we provide a lot of support for our staff and their mental health. First, through a very generous benefits package that gives people the freedom to have this personal time off and sick time when they need it, but then also an employee resource package that gives people access to some free therapy sessions, free resources to help manage stress, some packages that also enable you to have some exercise and access to some ways to save for tax-free savings plan for childcare. And I think you bring up a really good point about childcare. This is a problem for everybody, no matter what your economic status is. There's just a lack of affordable childcare, not just in Cleveland, but nationwide.
I love listening to you talk about all these issues. Maybe we should, with different law firms, and also as a way for all of us to raise money for legal aid, is to collaborate with these law firms, send their lawyers and paralegals and help to some of your seminars. Then, because I like the way you talk about impoverished, because I didn't know there's a legal, I just know our clients won't understand that word.
Okay.
So I think we should all collaborate with this so we can benchmark each other's practices. Yeah.
We have this wonderful partnership with all the law firms in Cleveland and the corporations, where there are at least 2 ambassadors in each of the major law firms and corporations in Cleveland who are ambassadors with legal aid. And we call them our partners in justice. And these partners in justice work on their own within their corporation, law departments, and law firms to promote legal aid and the work we do. And so they help recruit people to volunteer at clinics, come into legal aid and take cases. They run their own fundraising efforts to help raise funds for legal aid. They're a really wonderful group of people. And Margaret, you were one of the trendsetters because you are officially a partner in justice here at the firm.
Yes.
But it's really special because we have all these ambassadors in the community who care a lot about civil justice issues.
That's right.
And we do work closely with the Bar Association also, so that's been a big help.
And for those of you who don't know what a Bar Association is the bar that controls our licensing and our livelihood. I'm really afraid of the bar. And it's like, oh my gosh, I could lose my license. I mean, can you imagine a 74-year-old lawyer lose the license? I mean, oh my gosh, it'll be the end of my world, because that's who we are, that's how we practice. That's another thing. Talking about this program, we're always trying to encourage young people to really think of going to law school. I know now it's not chic to go to law school. Medical school is chic, engineering, entrepreneurship, but I really think law school is wonderful. You can leverage your time you don't have to be just a practicing lawyer, which sometimes it could go a lot very stressful. You can be a judge, you can be a business owner, you can write a law book, you can write a novel. You can really do anything. You can work for legal aid. Actually, I'm so happy. My 2 children finished law schools and they wanted to work for legal aid. I did it on purpose. I didn't call my friends in legal aid. They couldn't get a job because legal aid hiring is very high. Both of them didn't get a job there. So now they're partners with our firm. So I purposely didn't want to call you or anybody because I thought, oh my gosh, I need them to work with me. So now they're partners with us. So that's why I respect legal aid so much. And one thing to your benefit is I did once in a while try to recruit because legal aid have a lot of trial experience, which private law firms don't, especially from like federal public defenders, legal aid. These are trial lawyers. They go to court every day. They're not afraid. They have nothing to lose. They don't get paid that much. I mean, their clients probably don't expect too much from them. Sorry. Yeah. So, but they're very good litigators and they don't quit. Most of the lawyers I talk to in your company, they like legal aid. They like the freedom.
We like the mission.
They like the mission. They like the freedom. They like the non-micromanaging. I just want to tell you that you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And we're very grateful for your support.
Oh, no problem, because we love legal aid. And a lot of times I'll send my clients over and I'll tell them, you tell them I don't mind supporting them to help you, but I'm just not in a position to do it because something is not just, because all of us have our little niches, so legal aid is awesome. We refer cases over, especially on domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very good. Yes, very good.
Well, we cover 5 counties in Northeast Ohio, but there's actually a legal aid that serves every county in the United States. So we have our corner of the world here in Northeast Ohio, but we have colleague organizations nationwide. So no matter where you are in the United States, there's a legal aid in your neighborhood that can help you out.
Yes, and it helps to build a relationship with them because sometimes, because they're so busy, if you just send someone over, they probably just ignore you, just like anything else. But if you know a lawyer there or someone that works there, you may want to call them in advance and say, I'm sending someone over. I don't mind supporting them, but I'm not in a position to help, but I feel bad, and this is really of legal aids. So I do encourage all of you, if you need any help, if you have extra funds to help legal aid, and also they're very fair. It's not like some nonprofit that bosses to go to vacations in a nice hotel. We don't do that. We take, older days Southwest, now is probably some Spirit or something. We're always sitting in the back of the plane, but we have so much fun, especially when I was a young lawyer.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we do, like Melanie said, we have a criteria. There are certain cases that we can do or we do well. There are other cases that, for example, cases that are going to create a fee, there are limits on whether we can take those cases or not. There are a lot of reasons why someone may be turned away from legal aid, but we try to make sure that if they're turned away from us, that they know where they're going next.
That's right, because there's always international services. We have other places, but legal aid, one thing I like about their lawyers, they're very creative because I think it's because they are litigators. They're not afraid to go to court. They're not afraid to yell and scream. They have nothing to lose, so they'll go in there and be creative. And because they're legal aid, I really think the judges are nicer to you guys. I'm sorry to tell you.
I wish that were true.
Shout out to all the kind judges out there.
Any preferential treatment being from legal aid, but
And
don't you think?
Well, and often for our clients too, they're coming to all of us with these problems that sometimes there's not a legal answer.
That's
And
right.
so often what we're doing is counseling folks for what is your next step. And sometimes that legal advice is there's not a legal solution here, but there's these
That's
other things that could help you here in Northeast Ohio.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point because we have a lot of clients who say, oh, you can do anything. Oh, my friend, you'd help this, but not, it's getting harder and harder in the immigration world.
Yes.
And I'm sure in the housing world, it's hard.
Yeah, the housing world is a structural problem with historic racism that's created a lot of people that are not getting the housing justice that they deserve. And we're really trying to work on the individual cases and also on the advocacy, the big picture cases. So
But I thought if they have money to pay rent, the landlord wants them, right? I mean,
Well,
they need the
we
money.
have, well, that's, you just touched on a very important issue, but many times people can afford the rent, but the landlords don't like the income that's creating the rent. So like if you're a gig worker, or if you have a voucher that would allow you to pay the rent, there are landlords that turn away good money.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there still is, again, our city and county is very segregated residentially. So there's still those invisible barriers based on race and class that either landlords don't accept people, or people don't feel comfortable going over this invisible barrier to a neighborhood they've never lived in before.
Can you explain race, class, and barriers before we finish?
Sure.
Because these are legal terms.
Love
right?
to. So again, Cuyahoga County has historic markers called the redlining, where the federal government paid or allowed people to get mortgages, white people to get mortgages so that they could buy homes, but black people were excluded by law. And so we can see on the map where these red lines happened, what predicts someone's social determinants of health.
I didn't know there's a map.
Yeah, there are maps. Yeah, there are
Oh my
maps.
gosh.
Maps
And
that
so-
banks and realtors
And
use.
that legacy continues to live out itself. Even though now it's illegal to keep people from getting a mortgage, there are other barriers that are indications that it's based on this legacy. And so that's the housing justice that we seek to promote, right? And there's also people that, because we have mass incarceration in the United States, that again is based on a system that has used race as a way of over-policing neighborhoods and harsher sentences for African Americans. The whole downside of the criminal justice system impacts people when they get out of jail. So landlords can say, well, no, I'm not taking you because you have a criminal conviction. All of those things are things that keep people from getting the housing justice that they deserve. Those are the barriers that I'm talking about. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any more questions about legal aid, you feel free to ask me, ask my colleagues here, and I would love to make a referral for you. But I respect them so much since I've been practicing in Cleveland. They have helped me grow in my professional life because they also are very kind. They help a lot of young lawyers on legal strategies, on meanings of terms. I just adore them. So I'm so glad, thankful they had joined us.
Thank you so
for
much.
having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.